Hello everyone and welcome back to the IS Network lecture series on discussing case studies asked by UPSC in the previous year question papers. So till now through our previous video lectures we have discussed the case study, one case study each from 2013, 14 and 15. So today I'll be taking you through a case study of year 2016 and we will discuss the approach to solving this case study and discuss some new ideas which we might not have discussed in the previous lectures. So let's begin with this lecture. So I'll take you through the question and then we'll discuss how to solve it. So basically the question is about the classical debate of environment versus your development. So basically the case says that the land needed for mining dams and other large projects is acquired mostly from Adivasis, developers, hill dwellers and rural communities. So which is pretty much the case because these development projects are generally laid outside the urban domain. So most of the time the people who are displaced are either not too well off or tribal people and are of those context. The displaced people are paid monetary compensation as per the legal provisions. However, the payment is often tardy. In any case, it cannot sustain the displaced families for long. So, which is pretty much the case also. You might have already heard that there are numerous uh, cases against the land acquisition, and land acquisition itself is a very big problem in India. The reason is this itself, that the monetary compensation is generally one time and it is not even sufficient to basically sustain those families in the long term. These people do not possess marketable skills to engage in some kind of occupation. They end up as low paid migrant laborers, which is quite many times the case, that the people are engaged in their traditional activities, which is quite disrupted by these development projects, which essentially leads into a situation where they are left stranded. Thus, the benefits of development goes to the industries, industrialist, and the urban community, whereas the costs are passed on to these poor, helpless people. This is one of the core reason behind a lot of protests, that there is not an equitable distribution of your benefits. The costs are borne by one population and the benefits are borne by the other population. This unjust distribution of cost and benefits is unethical. Suppose you have been entrusted with the task of drafting a better compensation come rehabilitation policy for such displaced people. How would you approach the problem? And what would be the main elements of your suggested policy? So this is basically a case which could have been very easily a GS question as well. So it is basically, but now you have to ensure that this question is being asked in the ethics paper, not a GS2 or a GS3 paper. So you need to understand that the elements of the ethics syllabus should come into this case study. That's why I have taken this case study, because it is not similar to any other case study or a traditional case study where you have been given a role and there are multiple stakeholders, etc. This is a case where it's quite general in nature. So we'll discuss how to solve these kind of case studies. So let's begin with this discussion. So as we have understood that the case is primarily about difficulty in terms of balancing the two interests. So this could very easily be your introduction as well. So you can basically put the classical debate as the introduction, or you can very easily quote some examples also. For example, your Narmada Bachao Andolan. So Medha Patkar has been basically leading this protest for numerous number of years because the rehabilitation of the people have not been done properly. So you can quote these kind of examples, or you can even quote the law as well. So Land Acquisition Act can also be quoted, that it provides for comprehensive rehabilitation as well as compensation of the people. So you can introduce with any of these three ideas, or even if you have some data regarding this, you can introduce the case through that data. Now you have to understand what are the major issues in the case, because those issues needs to be pointed out first. Then your policy would be judged in terms of are you being able to address these issues or not. So these issues would basically give you tenets of what your policy should entail. So the major issues would be that the empathy and compassion towards people is not being shown towards the marginalized section. Then similarly, you need to have, so major issue is basically not a long-term solution. Long-term rehabilitation is not the focus. Social justice is under consideration over here, because the cost versus benefits are not being adequately distributed. The benefits are reaped by one section, whereas the costs are borne by the another section. Similarly, the lack of inclusive growth, as people feel that they have been left behind. There is a state of relative deprivation. You can see that a lot of power plants and etc. are set up in a very outskirt kind of an area where there are campuses built. Within the campuses there would be all facilities, whereas if you go just outside the campus, it would be just like a rural background. So the people can realize that there is injustice happening, there is lack of inclusive growth, they are not getting the benefits, whereas the person in front of them is enjoying all the benefits. So basically it leads to a state of relative deprivation. Similarly, the right to dignified life of the people is not being respected. Because if you leave those people without any life skills, without any employable skills, so their livelihood is at jeopardy. So basically they are not able to live a dignified life. So these all are the issues. Or you can even say that there is lack of inclusiveness in terms of policy formulation, or lack of participation, you can say, while approving the projects, while developing the rehabilitation policy itself. There is not much of participation of the people or the inclusiveness of the people who are being affected. So taking all these issues into consideration, we need to come up with a policy. So dwelling on the major issues would give you tenets of your policy itself. Now let's chalk out the policy itself. So in terms of policy, so first of all, you should be making it participative, because that basically builds the trust in the policy. So basically people should be, their demand should be heard. What do people actually want from the rehabilitation policy? What are their primary concerns? Then the focus of the policy should be holistic rehabilitation. The third tenet should be basically the living standards of the people should be on par or greater than what they were earlier. So you should not decrease their living standards anyhow. Either it should remain the same or they should have a better living standard. And we need to respect their local traditions and culture. So it's not just about your economic well-being, because that can anyways happen, but there is a sense of association with that place. There is a sense of social capital between the community. If the people are displaced and they are scattered across the geography, then their local traditions, their local cohesion, relatives are not staying at one place, could lead to other problems as well. So there needs to be proper cognizance of the fact that the local traditions as well as culture are duly respected, and there is conscious efforts to preserve them. So these would be the basically guidelines of how the policy would be framed, or the major tenets of the policy. Now we need to check out what are the basically core components of that policy. So this is more like a vision statement. Now we need to come up with the individual components of the policy. So in terms of participative decision making, we will have compulsory environment impact assessment as well as social impact assessment. And in these, the role of Gram Sabha should be paramount. So the people needs to come up with the the company should come up with the environmental impact as well as social impact analysis with the help of Gram Sabha. They need to find out what are the ground realities, what are the actual impacts, and the people should have a proper role in that. Then holistic rehabilitation, it should basically start from before the project itself. And it should cater to all the dimensions. For example, your culture, employment, education, healthcare, food requirements. So all these should be catered. And how can these be catered? We can have something like for the employment, skill development. So we can converge this rehabilitation scheme with your Skill India program. Or we have other programs as well. For example, your Hunar Se Rozgar program. Similarly, for education, the right to education of the people should be enforced. That either you do it through technology, through digital education, or through temporary school construction. So it should be ensured that the education is not hampered. Similarly, healthcare, wherever the people are being rehabilitated, there needs to be proper health infrastructure. So all these infrastructure must be ensured even before the people are shifted. It's not that the people have been shifted and then these things are coming up. It should be ensured prior to the commencement of the project itself. Then your food should be ensured through migration of the PDS or ration cards. Aadhaar linkages could be used in order to ensure that. So this kind of rehabilitation would be a over encompassing and a holistic kind of a rehabilitation. Then not just this, so basically it should not be a one-time affair. Even after that, the company should basically engage with the people at regular intervals. So basically it should not be that one time they have been displaced, some benefits have been given, and then the problem is over. There needs to be proper engagement. The company should look after the displaced people just as they look after their employees, so that the sense of belongingness is there. Similarly, there needs to be focus on the fact that the employability of the people is ensured. Employability plus they should be made the stakeholders in this process. Stakeholders in the sense that the benefits of the project, for example, electricity generation. So the benefits should move to them. For example, if the people who are being displaced, they should at least get majority of the electricity. For example, say they are getting 24/7 electricity, so that they can see the impact of their sacrifice. If they are giving something, they are getting something in return. So employability. So after proper education, some vocational training, the people could get some share of employment within that project. For example, they could be employed as construction workers, clerks, managers, depending on the skill level of the people. So there needs to be some share of those people in terms of employability in that project. Similarly, the benefits accruing out of that project should be directed towards those people. This would increase the acceptance of that project, as well as reduce the injustice that happens to people, and would even contribute to the social integration. So this would basically comprise the tenets of the policy in general. So if we look at what were our tenets, so basically what were the basic issues, have we addressed or not, this could be a check as well. So through the participative decision making, we have tackled this problem. Empathy and compassion, now we are showing through basically taking care of their culture, employing them, long-term rehabilitation in terms of continuous engagement, as well as targeting each and every component of their life, be it healthcare, be it education, be it employability, be it their culture. Social justice, the cost and benefits are now better regulated because they are getting some share of the benefits accruing out of that project. Lack of inclusive growth or relative deprivation, we have tried to reduce this by making them employable, thus getting some share of the economic benefits, thus leading to less relative deprivation. Right to dignified life, this has been ensured through various social benefits, be it education, be it healthcare, as well as a source of livelihood. So you can conclude this case by saying something on the line that yes, development is need of the hour, and displacement is basically a necessary evil. However, it must be ensured that the benefits or social justice needs to be ensured. Because development is not about development of a specific section of the society. It is holistic in nature, and that would basically lead to social cohesion and increase in the credibility and trust in turn towards the government as well as private entities. So like this you can conclude your case. So I have given you some idea into how to tackle these kind of cases. You can form a good introduction based on various cases. You can give some examples also. Then you need to come up with which are the major issues. Now you have to address these issues through your policy's vision, and then tackle each and every issue through the basic tenets or the components of your policy. So this would give you a holistic comprehension of the issue as well as a solution. So that is how you'll end the case. You can quote even your Greta Thunberg or any other individual in this case, just to give a conclusion reference as well. So that would be all from this lecture. I'll meet you next time with a case study from year 2017. And if you like to go for some paper evaluation for mains, you can refer to the IS Network website as well. Thank you.